What's up, gamers? Welcome back to Higurashi when they cry. Tatarigoroshi. Last time, a heckin' whole month ago, Keiichi found out that, Satoshi probably killed his aunt. Like, probably. And then he's also, like, did his plan. So he kind of has things worked out right now. He knows what he needs to do. So that's where we're left off. Can't believe it's been a whole heckin' month since we played this. April 30th, and it's May 26th. God. We already did the tips, right? Of course, we always do the tips. Sunday. Fireworks I heard before noon were probably to announce the opening of the festival. Oh, the festival starts today? Sunday? And the weather certainly wasn't festival weather. It was cloudy. The television forecast was calling for possible downpours starting this evening and lasting till around midnight. Well, it's gonna be good for him. Guess he was positive through no fault of their own. Oh, COVID, bro? Man, that sucks. I'm sorry. Man. I think this is the first time it's been raining during the festival, too. This is also new music, isn't it? Oh, I see. Oh, I'm so sorry about that, bro. Yeah. As long as it wasn't raining at the moment, the festival would go on. The festival had to open, or it wouldn't begin. The plan. The Furude Shrine grounds were probably decorated beautifully for the big performance that only happened once a year. Many paper lanterns were hung up, all in auspicious colors of red and white. Sound of electric motors at the stalls. Voices of kids running around. Their happy families watching them, smiling. Today was the festival of Watanagashi. Was everyone already partaking in the festivities? What about Satoko? Had she forgotten her days of suffering just for a few moments, while smiling that brilliant smile she hadn't in so long? This would probably be the longest day of my life. It would be a day I would remember vividly for as long as I lived. I told my parents I'd go to the festival this evening and lounged about during the early afternoon. We may have lived under the same roof, but we couldn't help being surprised by the deviation from how I usually spent my time. Glancing at my parents out of the corner of my eye, I went to the front door. I tied my shoes just a little tighter than normal, as if to express the firmness of my resolve in those knots. When I decided to murder Satoko's uncle, I was in such a state of excitement I almost went crazy. And when I was planning out the act of murder, which went directly against all the morals I'd fostered in me thus far, I was in such a state of calm I almost thought I had lost my emotions. And then, yesterday, when I learned Satoshi had made exactly the same phone call as me, I didn't know how to describe the muddled feelings I had then. And now, entering today, right now, I lacked all the emotions I'd possessed until now. To make a simple analogy, it was the kind of feeling you might get right after you wake up, and you're still half asleep and you don't feel anything very clearly. You're a stone cold killer. I had no anger towards that man for the violence he'd committed against Satoko, nor did I feel sadness towards or sympathize with her. I felt no disconnect towards my friends, who had just waited and watched, never reaching out to her for any help, and no nervousness or fear towards the day that had finally come. Yes, right now, you could say I was in the best possible condition for carrying out a murder. When it came down to it, I would probably need to let my violent emotions take control. But right until that moment, I would be like an insect. I would slowly, surely, and silently move towards my one objective, and then, when I had my prey, I'd attack like a bullet. There was no emotion in that. Just the creeping mindset that insects possessed. That sort of sneaking feeling was just the best. I would kill Satoko's uncle like he was a worm. I had to laugh a little bit thinking that way. Thinking like an insect. Going bug mode. Ugh. Tightened my laces one more time and walked out the door. Only Higurashi could take 5 minutes for tying your shoes. I brought the shovel out from the front storeroom. I would need it to dig that man's grave. The shovel was a convenient one, made for camping. If I twisted it and so and split it into 3, I could easily hide it in my bag. But I twisted the shovel and dismantled it. And even though I'd done it countless times before, I had some trouble for some reason. Like I was suddenly clumsy now. I knew why. It wasn't because I was nervous. You're gonna murder someone without premeditating and being nervous? Well, yeah. My weak-willed self deep within me was hesitant. I knew that the act of dismantling the shovel was the first step I'd take to becoming a murderer. Gah. Oh. The last twist was conspicuously difficult, but it finally submitted before the strength of my determination. It submitted before the strength of my determination. The area around Sadaga's house was outside my circle of activity. But even just riding my bike to the middle of the day like this might seem suspicious to the observant person. I definitely want to avoid meeting and talking to someone I knew. With that in mind, I chose my route to my destination carefully. I didn't mind going the long way around. How long this day would be, could never be too careful after all. Still, I was fortunate enough not to run across anybody on my way to the planned site of the crime. I wasn't superstitious at this point, but it was a good omen. The place I would dig the hole was in this grove, a little further into the woods. Like, sure, give me a few lines of coke in a car and I'll do it, but in full lucidity, I doubt it. Well, if he's that determined, you know? He's determined. He knows what he must do, right? I'd kill someone for a bag of chips and a half bottles, right? Bro, me too. Except it would be a bottle of ketchup. I'd kill someone for a bottle of ketchup. I'd spill their ketchup for my ketchup. I was worried I might not make it to the same place as before since there were no signs to guide me, but I arrived there smoothly and as expected. Took another look around. Not even a hint of human presence. The air was a little bit damp, but it was comfortable in the cool shade of the trees. I looked at the disassembled shovel out of my bag and began skillfully putting it together. Then, I stuck the tip of the shovel into the soft-looking patch of ground and pushed on it with my foot. The shovel would split into the earth if I put some strength into that foot. The act of doing so seemed awfully like the point of no return, and it made me hesitate. I was just digging a hole with a shovel when it made me gulp hard. Calm down, Keiichi Mayabara. Let's do a countdown. Oh, now he's getting nervous. Get it done on the count of 3, okay? Alright. 1, 2. Couldn't do it on the countdown despite it just being sticking the shovel into the ground. And I count down 5 or 6 times. Jesus Christ. Damn it. I'm just digging a hole. This is pathetic. Dude, if you're having this much trouble digging a hecking hole, how much trouble are you gonna, be in actually committing the murder? As I thought that, I put my strength into my heel like I was stepping on something unpleasant, and split came a sharp noise. It was only soft at the beginning. Roots and stones quickly got in my way, informing me just how hard it was to dig a hole big enough for a person. No decent person would ever come here anyway. Maybe it would be just enough to cover him with some dirt. Every time a naive thought like that crept into my mind, I bit down on it with my teeth and dug even harder. The murder is probably easier? What? No. Well, maybe it would be easier in terms of no, I don't think it would. I guess no, look, if you were consumed with the rage and just let that overcome you, and then you do the murder, I guess it would be easier, because he's not filled with rage right now, just digging a hole, right? Excursion and physical stress, the murder is easier. I can't believe you guys are saying that murdering someone is easier than digging a hole. You underestimate how hard digging a hole is. I guess. Yeah, I've never dug a hole before, okay? I've never dug a hole before. I've dug enough now. I could hide him in like this. When I thought that, I would go down into the hole, grow disappointed at how shallow it was, and return to digging. The thin layer of sweat on my brow eventually formed into drops and fell onto the ground. My back was even in worse shape. My damp shirt adhered to my skin, and it felt so disgusting. The things I couldn't stand the most were the mosquitoes. Oh no! Not the mosquitoes! Maybe they were attracted by the scent of my sweat. The white and black striped mosquitoes would cling to me whenever I let my guard down. It was hot. It was disgusting. It was sticky. I was itchy. All those uncomfortable feelings surged through me in waves. Damn it all. I know you're Texan Italian, but I doubt you've ever had to do any handiwork. Oh, I know. I'm so heckin' weak. I've never done anything like that before. You're a dog mosquito. How dare you? Mosquito is a vampire slur, alright? No. Sounds like hemorrhoids. No. Damn it all. So what? Are you telling me to pack up and go home? Is that it? I hadn't yelled at anyone. It was me talking to myself. Me telling myself something. Why was I feeling this way? And digging a hole all the way out here? What benefit would digging this hole give me? What harm would there be in not digging this hole at all? Wait, in the first place, who ordered me to dig? He's freaking losing himself in digging this hecking hole. When I thought it over, maybe ever since grade school or even before that, my whole life had only been me doing whatever people told me to. I didn't mean it was somehow constrained, living a life just based on the commands of others. And I didn't mean I was too lazy to try and find my own road in life. Metaphorically speaking, yes, it was like a road. What is happening? What are we going into now? I'd never been particularly physically fit. I didn't hit puberty very early, and if all my classmates and I got in a line, I'd usually be on the shorter end. My scores in jump rope competitions and marathons were the very picture of average. And it wasn't like the captains of the dodgeball teams would have the passionate rock paper scissors contest to see which would get me. During those kindergarten and grade school years, it felt like someone was only worth how fast they grew and how fit they were. Looking back on it now, it was really uncomfortable for me. The thing that turned all that around was just a few words from my mother. Keiichi, would you like to go to cram school? You get a better grasp of what you're learning in school and it will be more fun. The very first test I took at cram school was kind of like a game. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't like the tests of the same exact problem a dozen times in a row. Every question had a picture to it, almost like one of those puzzle books that came with the manga magazines. If my studies at school had been like this, it would have been way more fun. Several days later, I went to the cram school again with my mother and the enrollment paperwork. Mom and the person at the cram school had a really long, heated discussion. I accidentally dozed off and missed most of what they said, but I clearly remember one point. Mom made a loud groan, surprised at something. By 61, do you mean his average score was 61 points? No, not at all, Miss Maibara. The mean deviation of all of our cram schools across the country is 61. He's showing rare numbers, even if it was just a simplified intelligence examination. First, I would like to say that Keiichi Maibara-kun is extremely bright. Keiichi? He doesn't have very good grades at school. His average marks on his report card, B's, C's, D's. There's some kind of mistake? He can't possibly be this smart. We gave him the Kreplin test as well, and we learned some very interesting things as a result. Maibara-kun is extremely weak when faced with questions that don't have any meaning. He just has no interest in simple, dull questions that don't have anything to do with everyday life. So even if he doesn't know what 2 plus 3 is, if you told him he had 2 apples and got 3 more, he would understand that sort of question? That's right. For example, instead of telling him to draw a flattened, foldable cube, what if we asked him what a die would look like when cut open? If we did that, he could answer beautifully. Ah, I see. Then the person from the scram school showed her a page from one of the exams I took. A paper with questions about construction. Construction questions were unusual, so they were really cool, weren't they? In this question, it asked to draw an unfoldable irregular isodecahedron. No. Isohedron, right? A shape with 20 faces. Whoa, I'm lurking because I'm a mod in different stream right now. Oh, good luck, bro. I know being a mod is difficult work, bro. A D20, basically. Ah. Right. When we rephrased it and asked him how he would cut out a piece of cardboard to create a 20-sided die, Keiichi-kun drew the answer as though it were easy. It's not something an average child can do. Keiichi, have you ever made a die with 20 sides from a magazine extra or anything? The dice only went from 1 to 6. I never even considered before this test that there were die more than 6 sides. It was fun to imagine what kind of shape a die that went up to 20 would have. If I had a die like that, I would win at dice games against anyone. I immediately wanted to make it. Finally, I entered cram school. There were only 4 students in the class they put me in, which was called Select. It was the highest class, and some of my classmates were in lower classes. When I remembered how much better they had done at things like dodgeball and the 50-meter sprint, I felt happiness well up within me for the first time. Even if I wasn't good at them physically, I triumphed over them in other ways. It was fun at first. The more I did, the more I was praised. My teachers at school suddenly started pampering me, and it felt good. My parents were satisfied too. I enjoyed seeing them satisfied. The more I listened to my parents' commands, the more fun things got. That did happen, didn't it? I grinned dryly in self-deprecation. Because, well, my student's lifestyle didn't end up lasting very long. It was only at the beginning I enjoyed learning more and more. I gradually got along less with my friends. The classes were behind what I was learning in cram school, and I eventually stopped respecting the teachers, given that they could put me to sleep with their lectures. And, well, I was in a disagreeable sort who bragged a lot about how much I knew, and the ways of the world wouldn't let me remain in that state of ecstasy forever. I would do as I was told. I'd go above and beyond their expectations, and then they praised me. I was happy for that, and the cycle repeated itself like the wheels on a bike. I thought moving forward like that was how life worked, like a bicycle. When I moved to Hinamizawa, I realized just how inadequate it was. Some things happened, and we started saying how moving and getting a change in atmosphere would be nice. And my father, he had a place that he liked. He'd gone to a few times to draw the nature. Started saying that if he wanted to bring his atelier? His what? I don't hecking know. With me in blank amazement, they decided to move to Hinamizawa. After that, I met them, didn't I? Painting thing, I don't know. Yeah. First day after transferring here, I went to the classroom with the teacher. I thought it would seem pitiful for her to bring me in there, so I placed my hand on the door before she could, slammed it open, and set a foot into the room. Clatter. The thrilling, powerful way I opened the door was none other than my own determination to try doing my life over again. And then within the seconds, that determination took a hard counter to the face. Blackboard eraser fell on me. Plus, there was a huge rock inside. It was a supremely painful trap someone had set up. Oh, come on. Satoko was already beating me right from the first day I transferred. That frightened me. I was bewildered. The class was surprised too. I wasn't just surprised that the students in class were all different grades and were different genders. It was because the room felt completely different from the schools I knew. As I spent more time with them, my surprise continued to grow. This fresh sense of surprise had never left my life, even to this day. Every day was a fresh new surprise. I've never had a single boring day since coming here. The days were lively, spent with the other club members. Why did it do the stock spring noise? Because that's the sound an eraser makes when it hits you. A spring. You've never had it happen to you? Must make sense. Yeah. We played Old Maid with cards with scratches on the back to cheat. We let all our passions go wild during our games. We went all out as regular participants in tournaments at the toy store in town, and many, many more things. Recently, during those times, there was a bento competition. It was then. That's when I saw the unexpected side to Setsuko. Looking back on it, I only ate dinner with her 2 nights. Such a sweet, gentle time spent, and it warmed my heart remembering it even now. I realized that Satoko was pretending to be stubborn and firm, and how brave she was, part of her heart always waiting for her Nini to come home. And I vowed to become her Nini. Satsuko may have been nagging and overly critical, but she knew how to take care of someone. Although it might have seemed like she was taking the lead, it was actually her way of depending upon another person. Even if Satoshi and Satoko's lives as siblings were confined by their uncle and his wife, they were still warm, sunny days. When did those sunny days all go wrong? What mistake was made? Lamenting tragedies of the past would do no good. I told myself that so many times, but I did anyway. Keiichi, isn't that why you chose your own path? Take back that life? Nobody ordered you to do this. You decided it on your own. You don't desire anyone's praise for this. You thought it all through yourself. You'll carve it out yourself. And you'll do it now. This wasn't a path I could see very far down, not like the roads parents or society could offer. It was a narrow path, dark and utterly distressing, one for which the next step would always be shrouded in darkness. But that disheartening path would keep on going forever. In an unlimited path, there was nowhere I couldn't travel. A kind of path only available to those able to imagine where they wanted to go. Don't be ashamed at breaking from the brightly lit paved road. In fact, feel proud that you found your very own path to walk, even if that path is murder. Come on, Keiichi. And I hadn't discarded that paved road either. Once I achieved my goal, I would go back to that bright road, and then I'd spend those average sunny days at my leisure. What a freaking tangent that was. God, Keiichi. You'll go off the beaten path and commit heinous acts. You'll commit a little bit of tomfoolery. Fresh. When I realized it, the hole grown so deep I couldn't believe it. Did I dig all this myself? I think digging this much is enough, right? Put my shovel into the bottom of the hole. I'll drag the body here, throw it into the hole, and cover it up with dirt. Even if it took me time to camouflage it by putting plants on top, it would go much more easily than digging this hole had. I glanced at my watch. It was almost evening, and I hadn't realized it. I may not have felt the time passing, but digging this hole this deep must have taken quite a lot of time. I took a seat on my slanted rock nearby and wiped the sweat from my brow. Now, once it got a little darker, I'd go get a metal bat that I hid in the schoolyard. I'd make the call to lure him out. And then I'd do it. The rough things I needed to do to reach that moment were dwindling. I felt that moment closing in on me much more keenly than I did the passage of time. I didn't have any hesitation, but it still felt that contradiction. At every step in this process, I had a few chances to hesitate, to turn back, to let myself lose my nerve. Having to endure those million temptations and wait for when the time was right was an indescribably slow and painful torture. I'm wondering how this will go horribly wrong. I know, me too. Someone's gonna show up, you know? I feel like someone's gonna show up and mess this up for him. Oh gosh, dang it. I just remembered a spoiler. God. Because I don't know if you remember, but I did watch this show a long time ago. I don't remember much. But I just had a gleam of memory flow back to me. I think I know how this ends. I won't say anything though, because, you know, spoilers. I had thought myself acting all weak because of that, but I stopped midway through. This was okay. It was fine. I could detest the abnormal act of homicide as much as I wanted, and it didn't matter. I was going to be a cutthroat killer after today. I would pass through this strange day and go back to the world I was in before. I fell to the level of a psychopath who thought nothing of killing. I wouldn't be able to go back to my old life. So this was fine with me. I didn't have to feel ashamed at hesitating to kill. Because I was human. It was so funny to me that I'd be the bearer of Oyashiro-sama's curse at the same time I was aware I was human. I exhaled slightly and stood. I concealed my presence and sharpened my senses in all directions to search for anyone around but me. Okay, let's go. One step at a time. I would walk my own path. Path no one had forced me to walk. Let's do this. Keiichi Maebara. Cicadas made an annoying fuss. The chorus covered up the suspicious noise of me breaking twigs underfoot. The chorus filled the path far ahead of me, letting me know that I would be alone for some time. Cicadas blessed the path I walked, encouraging me with every last ounce of strength they had. The sky was far above. In not even an hour, the veil of night would draw near, and the sky would be tinted with dusk. By that time, the Higurashi would let me hear their chorus in a place of cicadas. What? What? I thought Higurashi were cicadas. Are they different? Huh? Okay. When that happened, would everything be over with? Would everything have ended? I said something along those lines when I felt Sato's fate up to the public agency. But this time was different. I would do it. I would carry it out. I would end it. It would be all over very soon. Wow. Everything would end. Yes, when the Higurashi cried. Higurashi, when they cry. Oh my god. They said the line! They said the line! Oh my god. Whoa! Roll credits. There's nobody at school. Of course. I couldn't hear the playful voices of children. It was the first time I'd seen the school with such a lack of human presence. Still, I quieted my breath and looked around, not wanting to be unprepared. It had gotten darker outside, but it was almost like my eyes could see more clearly now. I made absolutely sure of my safety, then walked to the heavy construction machine I'd hidden the metal bat behind. I had a tinge of worry, premonition, that somebody would have found the bat and hid it somewhere else as a prank. If that happened, I would take that as an opportunity to desist. If it really wasn't there, then... Sensation of chilled metal. It was still here where I left it. It hadn't run away. Satoshi hadn't run away. He'd waited here patiently. For me. Yes, Satoshi is now a sentient bat. Sorry for the wait, Satoshi. It's been a very long time coming. You prepared for this? Stop talking to the bat! Keiichi's really lost it. Through the metallic touch, Satoshi grins at me in my mind. That's what I should be asking, you know? I did this last year already. You should be more worried about yourself. Right on, Satoshi. Let's show him a bad time. Oh my god. Satoshi's bat got lighter and lighter. It fit into my hands like it was being absorbed. It didn't feel wrong to swing this. I could move it around so naturally, like it was an extension of my own right arm. Of course it felt like that. Satoshi and I were holding one bat together. Next, I would make the call to lure the man out. It wasn't a bad time for it. My friends were doubtlessly parading happily through the stalls. I hadn't considered where to make the call from. My house and Satoko's were pretty far apart. If I called from my house, I wouldn't make it. Couldn't I use the school phone? But as I thought, the room was locked up and I couldn't get in. Shit. I'm so naive. Yeah, they don't have mobile phones. I was like, bro, you could just call from the site where you digged at, but he actually needs a landline. Should have at least figured this part out. I couldn't call him. Just for that. Is today all over? Why not use the bat to break in? Oh! Smart, Kahila. Smart. I'm sorry, Satoshi. Just like cursed my own naivete, a miracle occurred. A bicycle came into the schoolyard. It's a familiar middle-aged man. One from the Forest Service field office. Why? Wasn't today Sunday? Here to pick up something he forgot? Anyway, the forest officer went around back and felt around in his pocket, then unlocked the door and entered. Best possible coincidence, and it had to be Satoshi who saved me. The metal bat, through just my own contact with it, told me this was the chance I couldn't allow to slip by. Sections for the forest office and the school were neatly separated. I feel like the man headed into the forest office warehouse, which was so far back the students weren't allowed into it. The door didn't match its fittings well, so it didn't close all the way, and the gap in the door opened slowly as if to lure me in. I took a deep breath and went in. I tiptoed along, silently and stealthily, and made it into the teacher's lounge. It was the only place with a phone. As I held my breath in the teacher's lounge, the forest security officer walking back over. Then the back door clattered shut, and was locked. I glanced out the window at the schoolyard and watched the man got on his bike like nothing had happened, and rode out the school gate. The school once again emptied, becoming deathly silent. I waited for a bit to make sure the silence was the real deal. I reached for the telephone on the principal's desk. I fished Satoko's phone number out of my pocket. Yes, the number in the class directory for Satoko had been the one from their house now, where she lived with her uncle. I touched the dial with my fingers, and then thought for a moment about what to say exactly when he picked up. Despite how many times I'd gone over in my head last night, now that I had my finger on the dial like this, it started to seep out of my mind like cracked bucket leaking water. Simple would be best. More importantly, to say it straight and not sound suspicious. I counted off 3 heartbeats and spun the dial. The call sound. Satoko's uncle pick up? Now, of all times, to hope he wouldn't pick up. The feeling of doom and the knowledge that I couldn't save Satoko if he didn't whirled around in a vortex. Do you know how to use Microsoft PowerPoint? Yes. I do know how to use Microsoft PowerPoint. Hello? It was the voice of a grumpy man, like he had just been woken up. He picked up. Hello? Say your name so I know you're Hojo, you asshole. It'd be terrible if I got it wrong. I made up my mind. I had all the initiative on my side. Here we go. This is the Shishibone Okonomiya police station? Am I speaking to the Hojo residents? I was changing my voice, but did he really think I sounded like an adult? Oh no, Keiji. You probably sound like a freaking 13-year-old. Would he believe I was the police? Oh, yes? This is Hojo. We currently have her daughter, Satoko Hojo, here with us. What? Satoko? What did that brat do? It'd be good for practicing both art and writing. Make a vamp game VN based on this series. Oh my god. That would be interesting. But I'd have to actually think of like a plot and stuff. It would be cool though. What did that brat do? He fell for it. I could tell by how tense he was that he didn't doubt my words. I can explain the particulars once you've arrived here. Would you mind coming to the station right away? Right now? I already took a bath myself, and I don't really want to go out like this, though. What? You don't want to come because you already took a bath? Yes, right away. Right away? Jeez, man, what the heck did Satoko do? I'll explain once you're here. I'll be waiting. Thank you for your assistance. 1 second. I don't know what the police station is. Where am I going? Oh my god. Oh, you moron. What the hell? The Okinomiya police station? I don't know where it is either. Aren't you from around here? Why don't you know that? A greasy sweat came over my body. Eventually, just as I was about to choke, he spoke. Oh, next to the fire station, right? That's pretty far. Thank goodness he remembered on his own for me. I didn't care where the police station was, so as long as he left his house to get there, then we will be waiting here. Oh, wait. Who am I asking for once I get there? What is your name? Top of that, he wanted to know my name? Just come up with the most basic hecking Japanese name. What's a really basic name? Satoshi? The policeman officer. Oh my god. Just leave your goddamn house already. How'd you make Kazuya? Toyota Honda? Yes, those are very good names. Mayabashi. That's so stupid. Excuse me. Why would you say your real name and then just change it like that? That's so freaking stupid, Keiji. You're so stupid. That was close. I almost thoughtlessly told him my real name. I managed to change the last syllable of it, but the receiver down like I was running away. Fingers were trembling, and I soaked with a tepid sweat. I wasn't just nervous about the phone call. With that call, everything had finally been put into motion. Left the school. It was locked before, but it was easy enough to open from the inside. I couldn't lock it again after I left. In terms of being thorough, I wanted to lock it. I couldn't waste time going back to the teacher's lounge and looking for the key. I needed to rush back as fast as I could and ambush him. Oh, zoom! I zoomed back to the scene on my bike. That's because Uncle got out of town before there, everything would be over. He'd learned that there was no one at the station named Maebashi, and things would get pretty messed up. As I returned to full speed, I passed a family wearing yukatas. Must have been on their way to the festival. Many people in Himizawa knew my face, though I didn't know theirs. Even just passing by them like this made me uneasy. If I didn't generally come around here, those living in the area might not have known much about me. That didn't matter right now. I needed to get back as fast as possible to control my breathing and to ambush the man. I'd be more nervous for a phone call than murder. You guys would be more hecking nervous ordering a pizza than you would for murder. Honestly. I hid my bike in a thicket and picked up Satoshi's bat, which I'd left hidden in the shade. Then I held my breath, waiting to see someone. I wondered if he still hadn't gotten here. Or maybe he went right out after the phone call and passed by here already? Couldn't figure out which it was and was set upon by an indescribable impatience. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Even if he came here already, he'd pass by here on the way back, right? And the end result would be the same. It wouldn't change the fact that he'd die. Probably be coming on his motorcycle. How would I stop him then? Figured it would be best not to think too hard and just hit him as he passed, or beat him out of his seat. The path was made of pebbles. If I hit him hard as I could and made him lose his balance, he wouldn't be able to help falling. And then, the chorus of the Higurashi stopped. The sound of a bike approached from far away. I couldn't tell what sort of motorcycle it was from the sound, but I'd seen it parked before, so I'd know. It was getting rapidly closer. It was almost here. If just went a little farther, cross into that thicket, and appear in front of me. I took a moment to make sure it was him. And when I had, I put my plan into action. The motorcycle appeared. A few easily identifiable characteristics told me it was Satoko's uncle's bike, without a doubt. Was it really him? Was it really Satoko's uncle? I wasn't making a mistake, was I? Looked at its characteristics again. Its color, its shape, and most of all, the man's clothes. and face. Those last feelings of hesitation, I did away with them. Let's go. Now, your Nini will end it, okay? Closer, closer. The bike came closer. Let's go. Satoshi. Yeah. Whoosh! I jumped out of the thicket. I used my shoulder to basically tackle the uncle on the bike with all my might. Whoa! Gave a dumb shout as his bike completely lost its balance. Finally, it fell, the bike shattering clouds of sand. After spinning, it stopped. Her uncle, tossed to the ground, didn't understand what had just happened, and groaned for a few moments, crouched on the ground. My breathing started to become ragged. No, I couldn't have this emotion. A weird secretion crossed through my brain and nearly made me hallucinate. Her uncle was groaning. Now was the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What was I doing? All the sounds in the world cut off. My mental chaos from a moment ago withdrew like a lie. I could feel the temperature in my head rapidly cooling down. Tension in my muscles all went away like the strings they'd been attached to have been cut. I let my hands dangle at my sides. It wasn't quite like exhaustion. Have you calmed down now, Daichi Maibara? Do you need to remember again why things got to this point today? Scrape. Scrape. Stepped over the pebbled path, taking one step, another step, and then another, towards Sato's uncle. The more I walked, the more my breathing calmed. The more I walked, the more I felt my body cooling, calming, chilling with frost. Yes. This moment, this guy had lost permission to live. I just resigned it. He mustn't stay in this world any longer. If he lived any longer, if Sato's misfortune continued, it would be my responsibility for having allowed him to live. I could feel the cooling substance going through my whole body, even down to my capillaries. Uncle was at my feet now, still on the ground like an idiot. He smiled coldly at how ridiculous he looked. That hurt! That's all it took for it to hurt. Sato's heart hurts much more, and now you're gonna feel that. And with your life, I'll make up for her pain. I used all unnecessary information from my mind. Prioritize the murder of this man. Execute, execute, execute. Wham! Utterly calmly, I delivered my first strike to the back of his head. I wanted to get the most effective spot. At least during the first moment, I'd have to attack him while he was at his most defenseless. And if it was to hit in the head, he'd cover his head. It was a defensive reaction all humans made, like machines. He used both of his hands to cover his head so he couldn't pick himself off the heap he was in on the ground. Jesus Christ! Like pounding a caterpillar into the dirt, I hit him over and over. If he covered his head, I'd hit him on the side. If he covered his body, I'd go for his head. If he rolled over, I'd strike his feet, his knees, his elbows. I didn't care where anymore. By just delivering one blow after another, I induced panic in him. I retained my overwhelming advantage, but I hadn't done nearly enough to deliver a fatal wound. My uncle skillfully pulled himself up off the ground and started to run like a fleeing rabbit. It wasn't just judgment. It wasn't a judgment he'd made after seeing my face and deciding whether to fight me. Right now, he was fleeing by instinct, trying to escape from the threat that had presented itself. Counterattack with a more physically capable uncle was what I was most concerned about. He may have run, but it wasn't all that unlucky. The odds were in my favor. The uncle didn't run away towards people, but off the path and into a woods. How pleasant. He would run in a direction where nobody else was. He was fleeing into strange geography, like a rat that instinctively runs into tight spots over and over. Yes, he was no longer human. He was a rat. Blood vessels in my legs expanded and my total oxygen supply increased. I lowered myself to gain the most explosive velocity I could. Without breathing, I became a wind-like shadow, and dashed. I crossed thickets, crushed dead tree branches underfoot, and dove through the woods like a bullet. He ran so cowardly, arms flailing as he went. After catching up to him, I didn't need so much as a blink of an eye to strike him again. My senses, mind, and body were all sharpened purely to kill this man. This was the first time I'd felt like this. Well, this was the first experience I'd had killing someone. It felt natural continuing to do this for the first time. And that meant I had this much talent for killing. Perhaps the act of killing was so simple anyone could do it. I didn't struggle or grow tired at all the chasing the clumsily fleeing uncle. No matter how much he ran, it was like he was trying to get away from his own shadow. He couldn't get away from me. I could easily aim at his back, his shoulder, and his head, even from this unnatural stance. Each time I struck him, he wailed in pain and begged pitifully for forgiveness, but it didn't disturb my mind. I was neither excited nor plagued by hesitation like before. It felt sharp. I felt like a carnivore. Of course, so did the uncle, who was trying to run away because he didn't want to die. He didn't want to be eaten, like a herbivore running with all its might, trying to get away. Despite all the attacks, despite all the hits, he kept on fleeing without even staggering. Despite the bad footing in the forest, he impressively never tripped over anything. There's no need to admire that fact. It was simply proof he was no more than an animal. If he was chased, he was run. If he was going to be killed, he would run. He bared his fangs at the weak, but couldn't oppose the strong whatsoever. He was lowly, vulgar, and diminutive animal. Such a puny little creature had harmed Satsuko. Scar after scar to her body and mind, deep wounds that may not ever go away as long as she lived. Help! My cold and calm emotions suddenly turned into bestial ones. Her personality changed into something specialized for murder, really to devour the diminutive animal before me. The uncle gave a puny little streak, covering his head, and ran. I'm impressed by how much you can run. Fine, run as much as you like. I will be your death. I will choose the moment at my leisure. Your legs will hurt, your lungs will feel like they're about to burst, and your head will hurt from lack of oxygen. Feel the pain that has become worse than death, and by all means, stop any time. Without turning back, suffocating on his terror of the approaching death, he just ran shamefully onward. He ran, but was chased, his head bashed with the metal bat, sweat and drool flying everywhere, blood clinging to him. From his mouth came the sounds of coarse, irregular breathing, and high-pitched screaming that verged on crying, and pleas for forgiveness to someone, I didn't know who. Each and every second was a second of atonement that I granted him. Now run. Then fall and moan and die. Where do you even crawl out of anyway? You were never here before. You were never here, you never should have showed up. If you never showed up, our lives would still be fun and enjoyable. Would have gone to today's festival, waited for each other, and gone to the shrine, laughing. We would have been playing amongst the stalls right about now. We'd be browsing the strange food stalls you only saw at festivals, trying to get prizes from goldfish, scooping, ring throwing, or target practice. We would surely make into a competition, and we, as a club, would have a grand time. And everyone would have been cheering for Rika-chan's dedicated dance. And everyone would say how fun it was. It would give us energy for days to come. Fun, enjoyable, and funny. One time spent with friends. And that would have happened. And it didn't. And now it was all smashed to pieces. There's no doubt that would be what the world was like if you never showed up. You were the obstacle, the mistake, the heresy in that world. But I would correct that mistake now. I would erase you and make it so that this last week never happened. Today was Watsunakashi Festival. The holy night, where just taking one life was permitted in the name of the Yashiro-sama's curse. It looked like the Higurashi stopped crying at some point. When the Higurashi cried, everything would end. And the Higurashi silenced. Lowly one, the hour of atonement is at an end. Higurashi has stopped their crying, and thus it is the end. The end, the end, the end, end. You don't have to run away anymore. Die, with those dirty brains of yours smashed everywhere. Lightning and thunder struck like an explosion. It was so loud it shook the ground, and I smelled gunpowder. The response I got this time was clearly different from the one before. A metal bat crunched into the crown of his head. It was like the top of his head that caved in. It all felt like it was biting him. It had been the final killing attack that visited him. When I didn't overlook that opening, he left as his knees gave out under him. I remained alert for a few moments, and then thud, thud, planted both knees in the ground, and then fell forwards, burying my head in the ground. I'd been holding back my ragged breathing, and now it came out in me like a dam bursting. My head was dizzy and light, and unable to maintain my balance, I leaned against a nearby tree. The uncle didn't try and guard his head any longer. After a disgusting sort of spasm, he stopped moving. Did I get him? Did I get him? For sure? I fought back in my exhausted urge to fall over where I stood, and drew toward him carefully, bat still at the ready. Possibly he was faking it and trying to wait it out. Did I check for a pulse? I realized right away, though, how unnecessary that would be. I thought he might be faking it, and I would just have to keep pummeling him until I was satisfied. I fought back my ragged breathing again. I swung my bat far above and brought it down. Blood leaped like a bow. He didn't try to cover his head. Then once again, I aimed for his head and swung. The reaction was the same this time. Now this is just overkill. After spending a few moments making his head into mochi, the hits gradually started to feel different, and it started to spray a filthy dark red liquid everywhere. That was enough. It was definite now. It had absolutely killed him. There was no sense of accomplishment, nor one of regret. I didn't feel anger towards Satoko's uncle, nor pity towards Satoko herself. Instead, right now, I was feeling that my heart had been stolen by the downpour. It had begun to rain at some point, and how comfortable it felt. The rainwater drenched my body and dripped down to the ground. The excitement within me faded as the rain washed away the grime. My shoes were so wet they made splashing sounds. And despite abusing Satoshi's bat like that, it wasn't bent very much. There were a few dents in it, probably from hitting the man, but nothing that would make it seem different from before. Instead, it had been stained, black with red, with mud and blood. But that itself would be evidence. One piece of evidence needed to prove that my delusions hadn't been just daydreams, that I'd ended Satsuko's uncle for all eternity. Alright, Keiichi. Calm your mind. Time for passion is over. Now's the time to be cold as ice. I needed to bury the body. But where was I? I simply followed the man as far as he ran into the darkness. And take a guess how far we'd run. It was already pitch black around us, and the only light I had to go on was very faint light on the road a little further down. It was so dark out. I hadn't noticed the darkness until just now. My vision was so good I could see the man's ugly hairline. I could have counted the pores in his head. It was only now that I realized how much crazy strength I had mustered at that moment. I went over to the streetlight, looked up and down the road, desperately trying to figure out where I was. This is... oh no. It's the one road connecting Hinamizawa to the town. We were unbelievably far away from Satsuko's house. Have the two of us really run so far a distance? My surprise at that was accompanied by the knowledge of the miraculous fact that despite running so far and making so much noise, we hadn't come across anybody at all. It was a long way between here and the ambush location where I dug the hole. There's no way I could carry the body that far. Wait, aside from that, the bike that man took here was still lying in the middle of that path. That would be an issue. Police could tell whose motorcycle it was by looking at its license plate. They wouldn't just leave it like that. Thankfully, the corpse was in a dark forest. In terms of urgency, dealing with the bike would come first. And I wanted to get that shovel back from where I left it next to the hole. I shouldn't drag the body there. We'll have to deal with it right here. Fortunately, the ground was like mud from the downpour. It was more sludgy here than where I was before. I'd be able to dig a grave quickly here. Of course, my bicycle was still over where I'd left it too. Still, wasn't over. Homicide had only been half of my goal. The other half would be just as important as the first. I would completely hide the body, not allowing a beginning to happen. I would erase the man like he never existed, regain the peaceful times we had before. I bent my head backwards and calmed my mind even further. The big water droplets struck my brow mercilessly. They're actually quite comfortable. For a while I had let my desire have its way. For confirming I was sharp again, I started running through the rain. The motorcycle was in the grass by the roadside. Considering how it looked, pelted with rain and covered in mud, it actually seemed like it had been lying there for a very long time. Then with a drop, the motorcycle into the swamp. It's almost a bit of a walk from here. I lifted the bike up. I didn't think it would be so heavy. I was a little surprised. Once I had it upright, it was fairly easy to roll it along. Well, pushing this thing all the way to the swamp was not really something I wanted to do. I could no longer ignore my exhaustion. It warned me numerous times about how far away the swamp was. Motorcycle. I wonder if I could ride it well enough. If I got it going, it's basically the same as a bicycle. Wouldn't it get me to the swamp quickly? Plan suggested my exhaustion, anxiety of getting on a motorcycle for the first time with dream. Turn the key, and then you just kick this pedal, right? Yeah. It's on! And then I gripped the handlebars. First the right, then the left. He's gonna freaking crash! What? Maybe I twisted them too much. The bike lurched and did a wheelie like an angry horse. I lost it for a second. It was just a problem of how much torque to apply. Let's try that again. This time slowly, gently. That time it went well. It was strange to be on a two-wheeled vehicle that would go even if I didn't pedal. Very odd, but I got used to it quickly. Jonas told me you could get a scooter license within a day. She was clearly right. This was pretty easy. I needed to throw the metal bat into the swamp too. But I didn't know how I would pack the bat onto the motorcycle. Not much of a choice, I stuffed it to the back of my shirt, feeling like a ninja carrying a katana. I put the tip down the seat of my pants and hunched over, it wouldn't fall out. I got back on the bike, and this time, got going without any difficulty. Carefully pressed the button labeled light, and a rather strong light came on, illuminating the way forward. I probably really shouldn't have turned it on, but I didn't have any way of seeing at this point, and zero confidence I could ride through the darkness. The rain came down on me. I maintained a precarious balance and inched my way towards the swamp. Along the way, I ran across a few people who seemed returning from the festival, but none of them had any interest in me. They're all either soaked in the rain, or hurrying on the way home, or had their umbrellas low and heads down. Yesterday I might have been wary of even these passerby. Right now it didn't seem to be much of a cause for concern. In fact, it would probably be less suspicious to be riding out in the open instead of sneaking around. More and more, though, I started to think that idea is naive, brought on by my exhausted state. Oh, he's being seen by people? I mean, not like they're paying... It's not like they're paying attention to him, so it's not much of a problem, is it? Climbed a steep hill. On a bike, that hill would put me out of my breath, and I just have to accelerate a little bit to climb the entire thing. The motorcycle sure are convenient. For a moment, its lights illuminated a sign before I passed by it. Onikafuchi Swamp. Good children do not play around here. Still, I wasn't like the way to the swamp was cordoned off by a metal fence or something. Parents and teachers would get mad at you if they found out you were playing by the swamp. But some of the bad kids in my class apparently snuck out here sometimes to see a giant crayfish in the place. I talked before about how they'd go into the candy shop to buy some pickled squid and tie it to the fishing line and throw it. All the crayfish would come running. Once I got up to the bank, there was a tiny ritual shrine and traditional ropes on one of the trees. What, you pay attention to every car that drives by while you walk? Exactly. It's a possible witness him being on a motorcycle he doesn't own. Same area at the same time, and the man who owns the motorcycle disappeared. Nah, you're thinking way too deep about it. There's no way. There's no possible way. And as it swallowed the downpour whole, the blackened swamp had waited for me. If I slammed on the accelerator from the cliff-like stop I was on now, this thing would fly straight in the middle of the swamp. So be careful not to fall in with it. If I drowned and disappeared, man, what a stupid ghost story that would be. On the night of Higurashi, Satoko's uncle's corpse was found by a thicket by a road leading to town, and Keiichi Maebara went missing. Well, it is a thing where one person dies and one person disappears, isn't it? People would whisper that I'd be demoned away. That the curse would be a half-baked one. I got off the bike and twisted the accelerator as hard as I could. Let go just when it seemed like it would drag me forward. The bike shot off the cliff and swallowed down into the swamp, leaving a far fainter splash than I imagined. The surface was being plummeted by the downpour, and the muddy, filthy water was flowing into it. I didn't even make out the motorbike I'd just thrown into there. Pretty heavy after all. It peaked quickly, engulfed by the soft mud at the bottom of the swamp. It would be pulled deeper and deeper till it reached hell itself. I felt no reluctance whatsoever in throwing the man's motorbike down to the land of demons. But I did have a tinge of regret when I did it with Satoshi's bath. The muddy water washed off the gore sticking to it, and it sunk easily. I had sort of shared today's events with Satoshi, and so I wanted to give it a quiet place to stay. That's how I felt. I started to feel more like returning it to the locker from before so I could continue to keep watch over Satoko. That's stupid. Satoshi, I probably, well, misunderstood you. Satoshi listened quietly without nodding. I'm absolutely convinced now. You were the one who beat your aunt to death last year and saved Satoko. I always scorned you and called you a coward who ran away. But I was wrong. The rest of the world, some deviant was behind that incident, but I know. That was something you did for her. And then you disappeared. I only got back that piece and lost it within days. So I swear to you that I will live life to the fullest from now on. Live it on for the both of us. I will live on as though this week, this day, never happened. But I will never forget this short time we shared together for as long as I live. I didn't know what expression Satoshi made as he listened, but for someone who had protected the same girl, felt like he smiled and given me his blessing. And then, my hand moved on its own accord, and the bat I had hesitated to throw away left my hands, and it flew through the air. It traveled its parabolic path, spinning all the while, and the swamp absorbed it without a sound. There weren't even any ripples when it hit the surface. The surface was tempestuous because of the downpour, and the bat was long gone. For a moment I had regret having thrown it, but I realized that it might have been what Satoshi had wanted. You're right. I still can't let myself give in to emotion just yet. I would return for my shovel, get on my bike, dig a hole to hide the body, and bury it. It seemed like a simple sequence of events, but I felt completely exhausted, and I'd do it all tonight. Satoshi left me with only the advice I'd need to finish this up soon, and fell silent for eternity, disappeared at the bottom of the demon's abyss. I returned to the path I had ambushed our uncle on. My bike was hidden. He was sleeping in the bush, and I stood it back up. My whole body felt heavy. I needed to finish by the end of the day, even if I had to whip myself to do it. Oh, I forgot something. I didn't just come here for my bike. The shovel was here too. Not good. I was zoning out. Every once in a while, if I let my guard down, my vision would go almost full black. Pull yourself together, Keiichi Maebara. It's still not over. I went into the grove of these trees and looked for the hole in which I had hidden the shovel. Fortunately, I had hidden it deep in the forest, not wanting it to be seen. And everything was black in the night, so I couldn't see anything anymore. I reawakened my fading consciousness and realized just how big this annoyance really was. Wait, you can't be serious. I thought the rain washed away before it came back up to my skin. Deep, deep in the forest where streetlights could never reach. The fact that it would be so pitch black had been completely uncalculated. This much darkness, even if I had been able to kill him right away like I'd planned, I didn't know if I could still bury him without a problem. What should I do? simply couldn't find the shovel tonight. If I forced myself to go deep into the forest, I'd lose even my sense of direction. I might actually get lost in there. It might have been an exaggeration, but it was fully possible I'd trip over a tree root and sprain a muscle. Alright, my house's storage room. There was another shovel there, the same fold-up kind. Can I go back to the house, get the shovel, and give up on finding the shovel tonight? It's not as though the name Mayabara is written on the shovel. It seemed like an unusual item from an import variety store made in another country, so I didn't want to leave that shovel here. But in this darkness, I couldn't do anything. I should give up and go back to the storage room. There was an electric lantern in there. If I used that for light, I could look for it. It was so extremely dark. Can I light the way for just the lantern? Light of the lantern in this dark night. I couldn't discard the possibility of it drawing eyes. And I doubted if I could find the shovel with the lantern's feeble light. Besides, I'd left the body there for a pretty long time already. A sense of fear, dulled through the excessive exhaustion, finally reared its ugly head. Anyway, for now, the most important thing was to hide the body. The shovel being found wouldn't be a big deal, but a corpse? If they found that, I'd share the same fate as Satoshi. First I'd go back to the storage room at home, and they'd get the lantern. Now that it's gotten this dark, I might still need to light a whole, light to dig the hole for the body too. And I'd get the other shovel, and then I'd deal with the body first thing. Once that was done, come back here, find the shovel, bring it back. I had to do at least that much. I was so tired. But complaining was getting me nowhere. If I started getting complacent now, everything would have been for naught. At some point I had sat down. I gritted my teeth and endured lifting my heavy hips. The night was young. Of all the nights I'd experienced, none had ever been this long. When will it all end? The night was young. Jesus Christ, this is a lot more complex. Like, he already did the murder, the hard part is over. You know? The lights at home were dazzlingly bright. Suddenly, they reminded me of how hungry I was. Checked the clock and saw it was almost 7. Thought for sure it was 2 or 3 in the morning already. Surprised at how messed up my biological clock had gotten just from this one night. There was a warm light coming from the curtains in the living room window. The worlds between here and what was beyond those curtains were so different. If only that man hadn't showed up, I would have been in that light. He'll be excited for the festival, and I'd be talking to my parents with how much fun I had with all my friends. And then, even though they made such a hot meal for me, I would have eaten way too much of the stalls, barely eaten any of it, and gone back to my room. No doubt I'd crawl into my futon and easily let myself fall asleep. Right now, I was completely different. There wasn't a single ember of warmth from those weak streetlights. Right now, I was unconnected to any time spent with my family. There was neither warm food, nor the time to allow myself to sleep. My body exposed to the cold rain, I knew that I'd simply had to spur myself on to accomplish what I must. I realized how timid, how cowardly I was becoming. What reason did I need to kill someone? Even if I felt this terrible. I'd lost the sight of my purpose. Selected the fastest, most fundamental way of saving Satoko and executed it without hesitation. That man was dead. He was gone. He would never ever hurt Satoko again. We all thought frantically for days on end about Satoko's problem. Finally, with no options, we gave up, and I solved it in one night. By myself, without anyone's help. Right about now, Satoko would be making dinner for her uncle despite not knowing when he'd return. She might be spending the night trembling in fear of whether he'd yell at her for how it tasted. But her uncle wouldn't come home. She wouldn't have to fear his wrath, nor let him make her feel sad. I see. I did it. I successfully saved Satoko. All I'd been thinking about for a long time was killing that man, and I'd forgotten the feeling that it was actually all to save her. I did. I did something good. We did it, Reddit. That's right, I did something good, didn't I? I felt hot tears coming from my eyes. And that's when I first realized the exhaustion I'd been feeling was actually guilt. This blade of guilt, for a while now, had just been scraping away with its tip, hurting my heart. It hurt so bad that I couldn't stand it. It was throbbing painfully. It hurt so much, it was so painful that I cried. Cried tears of joy at saving Satoko. I didn't know why, really, anymore. I just cried. My tears fell and fell. I stood there for a while, coming to terms with those warm tears. My heart was comforted a little. Alright, Keiichi Maebara. That's enough. Nothing to regret or feel shamed about. Both my body and mind were thoroughly exhausted, and that was a fact. It was only natural I couldn't feel anything. Even tomorrow and the day after that, I might not be able to feel anything for a while. But there was one thing that was true. There was an undisputable fact that I had saved Satoko. One day, we would surely be rewarded. One day, I would be proud of how distressing an enterprise I had undertaken to get Satoko's smile back. And so that I could wait for that day, I had put the finishing touches on this night. Left it undone, everything I'd accomplished today would have been for naught. Looked back up at the sky, which didn't look like it would stop raining anytime soon. Then, I rubbed my eyes and summoned forth energy from my core again. How long did I plan on spacing out? This isn't the time for daydreaming. Someone could find that corpse this very moment. Pessimistic thought was proof that a very natural emotion of fear had returned to me. As I allowed the fear to spur me onwards, I went to look for the other shovel and the lantern inside the storage room. It was fortunate that I remember what it looked like around the street light the body was near. How dark it was quite possible I wouldn't be able to look for it either. I didn't realize that when I left the place, so the idea of memorizing the spot hadn't even crossed my mind. So I had to call it fortunate that I managed to get back to the body like this. The corpse was now located in a big muddy puddle. Half the thing had already sunk into the swamp-like pool of water. I only realized afterward, but there was an unused irrigation channel right nearby, clogged with fallen leaves and dirt. There was rainwater flowing in from there. My shoe had been awash with water for a long time now, so without any hesitation I stepped into the puddle. The whole muddy stream started flowing black, luckily. It didn't leave any slight traces, like bloodstains. The rain was like a blessing from heaven. I checked around me, paying very close attention, and then turned off the lantern. It became pitch black, but my eyes got used to the darkness in a few moments. Once I managed to reach the streetlight on the other side, I was able to make out even faint lights. I struck the shovel into the puddle right next to the corpse. The ground was even looser than I thought. The shovel's tip easily slid inside of it. I had to hurry and dig. If I took too much time, I might lose my energy and strength again. It almost like digging a hole in the sand at the beach. It was easy to dig, but no matter what, the muddy water kept flowing in, covering the hole. Digging wasn't going as well as I'd hoped. I dug, and the water would go in. I couldn't make a sense of how deep it was. The only way for me to measure was to bury my own foot in the mud. I'm digging just fine. It's alright, don't be disheartened. Dig, dig, dig. Occasionally a car would come by on the road, and I have to hurry to hide myself in the trees. Everyone was only passing through. They wouldn't have their eyes peeled on this kind of darkness. I understood it logically, but I couldn't help but hide. What was I really scared of? It wasn't quite that one of the cars would coincidentally happen to witness me here. It was the distance I could spot cars was getting gradually closer. First, I noticed the splashing sounds from really far away as cars drove through them. I started noticing them less and less. And with the car that just passed by, I didn't notice it until its headlights were upon me. I felt my senses grow duller by the second. If someone were to take a peek in secret as I was burying the body at the worst possible time, maybe I wouldn't even notice. The moment I thought that, I took a good look all around me. I rose to my half-sleep senses and searched for signs of presence nearby. What if I found someone was spying on me from the trees? Carnivorous feeling snarled at me, glaring. If there was, then I would dig another hole. Oh! No witnesses! Oh god. Yeah, he's gonna have a terrible cold tomorrow. That's what I was thinking as well. I'd come this far already. In order to achieve perfection, I didn't care how much more I'd have to pay. I didn't know what kind of face I was making at the time, but it was definitely a fervently glaring one. Five senses reached a conclusion, and nobody was present. I didn't breathe a sigh of relief. How long had I been digging this mud out of here? It was deep enough for it to go up to my knees. Maybe this was enough? Maybe I'd throw a corpse in as a test? Swallow, getting my breathing under control. Despite how much I'd beaten him, I was afraid of touching the corpse. Instead, I dragged it by the feet to the hole. With more than just a waggle and a tug to do it. But of course I did it. Given this man's weight, it was easily 8 kilograms. 80, not 8. I rallied all my strength and dragged him in. At this point, my groundless fears that he might suddenly start moving again had vanished long ago. His body fit perfectly into the muddy hole. It was more than deep enough. Alright, let's bury him. Quickly, quickly, quickly. If I did a perfect job of burying it here, everything would be over. I would hide it in the hole, and none of this would have ever happened. I realized I had only a farther way to go to finish everything. I was racked with pointless anxiety, like I was in a race against time. It was like I was absorbed in an illusion, that if I didn't bury the body quickly, it would come back to life. In any case, in a great rush, I poured mud and dirt into the hole. If it didn't work effectively, someone might find me here. Well, now I figured someone saw, I'd just kill them. But not anymore. I was arrested with such absolute fear that if someone saw me, it would all be over. As I finished the work off, it was a total mess. Splish, splash, splish, splash. I drew the surface of the shovel across the ground, trying to make it flat. It was completely covered in mud at that point. The rain washed the mud off my body, but not off my now blackened clothing. My body and mind were caked with panic, with fear, with rain, and sweat, and mud. My shoulders heaving, I threw down the shovel and sat down in the mud. I was so exhausted, I wanted to lie down right here and sleep. It was over. This time, for real, it was over. The man was now at the bottom of the wet dirt. Right at this moment, there were traces of the place had been dug up, but the rain and flowing muddy water was completely covered all within moments. Yes, it was over. I did it. I did it. I did it. You motherfucker. Oh my god. And then I fell over backwards, face up in the mud. Raindrops pelted my face without mercy, but I didn't care. After staying there for a while, resting my mind, I got up again. It was over. So let's go home. We already buried the whole thing. Now it's like it never happened. It never happened, so there's no reason for me to stay out here and get rained on. I wobbled to my feet. I wouldn't use the shovel anymore. I considered disassembling it, but I didn't have the strength for my absolute exhaustion. I didn't really need to take it apart anyway. How's he gonna explain being this dirty? I know he's gonna walk into the house just dragging mud and wetness everywhere. Still has to get the other foot shovel, doesn't he? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe he's just forgotten about it. There's also another hole in the forest. That'll be covered up with the rain, right? Right. I didn't really need to take it apart anyway. Dragging the shovel behind me, I headed towards the light. I stood up my bike, had been laying in the grass by the road. I didn't know how I was going to get the still assembled shovel into the front basket. Put the shovel down the back of my shirt like I'd done with the baseball bat. Unlike the bat, the corner of it was on my back, making it very painful. Plus, if I relaxed my posture even a little, it would fall out behind me. I ended up having to carry the shovel in my left hand and riding the bike using only my right. Not only was I in a state of total exhaustion, this was a downpour. One hand on the handlebars, just swaying to and fro like a drunk. But I didn't care. Even swaying like this, I got a little closer to home every time I pedaled. I saw two lights swaying slowly in front of me. A car was approaching. Oh no, I need to get out of the way. From far away in the shadows of the darkness, a car appeared. Dazzling lights washed over me. The driver made a short honk of the horn to inform me I was in the middle of the road. I have to get out of the way. I was telling myself that, but not only was I riding one-handed, I was exhausted, so I couldn't do anything. Wobble, 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 wobble. I meandered about, not going to the right nor to the left. The driver decided to swerve out of the way right in front of me, without lowering its speed much. Slowly came towards me. The building grew larger in my vision, telling myself again I really need to get out of the way. I jerked the handlebars in one direction, and then lost my balance and fell over, bike and all. My whole body splayed out. One foot got caught in the bike. This was seriously bad. My drowsiness quickly vanished just as the cold sweat broke out of my skin. The driver recklessly spun the wheel to the left, made a counterclockwise U-turn, came right up to me and stopped. The driver's seat door opened, and the driver came out. "You idiot! What are you doing here?" I was pretty sure someone would yell at me like that. Oh my. Look who it is. It was a woman's voice, the one I knew. Oh? I lifted my face off the ground and looked at her. So, Takano-san. Good evening. The moon is very pretty tonight, Maibara-kun. It was raining far too hard to see the moon. Takano-san unfolded the umbrella and smiled as she spoke. She's so freaking creepy. Yeah, she's still alive. Good for her. Yeah, and then the camera guy's probably still alive too, huh? That smile was for some reason uncanny, like she'd seen right through me. Out of all the people I could have met, I got the sudden feeling that this was the one I wanted to see the least. Shota teacher? No, not Shota teacher. What are you doing out so late? You're soaked and covered in mud and no umbrella either. What is that? A shovel? She had come here via car. She wouldn't have known what I was doing. And yet she smiled as though she knew everything. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. She always makes that mysterious looking smile, remember? Don't let her on to anything, lest you dig your own grave. Rumors say you were playing baseball with a golf club. Is that what the shovel's for too? You're using it as an umbrella? I should tell a good lie here. If I could just do that, things would work out. When I went with Rena to go digging for treasure at the dam, we forgot this there. And you went to get it in this downpour? I left my house, I didn't think it would rain, so... Oh, it's been raining for a while, though. You've been out for quite some time, haven't you? Well, yes, I was kind of wandering around. Even so, you came from that direction, didn't you? The dam is in the opposite direction, you know? Takano-san was clearly aware that something exceedingly abnormal was happening with me. As she played her little word games, she was enjoying driving me into a corner. Maybe she had a vague guess just from the situation of what I'd been doing. Timing really sucked to run into her, of all people, of all times. At the very end, I can only be frustrated at my terrible luck. I'd done so much, and the end was literally right around the corner. So why at the very, very end, did I run into her of all people? What do you do, Keiichi Maibara? You're still holding something that could be a dangerous weapon. Will you silence Takano-san? Oh, heck! Luckily, she's probably gonna die. She won't be a witness. Wait, he's not gonna kill her, is he? Oh no! I don't remember this happening, so like, this is all new to me. Even if it would be simple to kill Takano-san, dealing with the car she'd come in after would be an issue. Couldn't drive a car. It was completely different from a motorbike. But even if the car was here, as long as there was no proof, I'd killed her. Yes, in tonight's downpour, without any prior planning and all by coincidence, a hit and run. As long as I didn't drop any handkerchiefs with initials on them, they'd never know I killed her. A black flame quietly smoldered and raged in the core of my body. That's a scary look. Did I tease you too much? Takano-san started to laugh by herself and thankfully stopped talking about it. The dark clouds in my mind didn't go away. He's like planning. How is someone driving a car gonna get hit and run by a car with the car untouched? It's a very stupid plan. Like, oh my god. This is... He shouldn't kill her. He shouldn't kill her. Did Keiichi do the thing? Yeah, he did the thing. He did the thing. Leaving that aside, How long are you planning on crawling the ground with your bike like that? Do you mind moving out of the way? If I moved, she would leave. So I tried to get the bicycle up and out of the way, but then twisted my ankle in it and fell over. Oh, ouch. Shit. He's still on the ground. Ugh. There's a sharp pain in the ankle I twisted. This is nonsense. A sprained ankle? Now? Oh my. Are you alright? Did you twist your ankle? Takuma-san squats down, takes a good look at the ankle I kept rubbing. She compares it to my facial expression, apparently trying to gauge how bad the wound was. Can you stand? Didn't expect to, but I couldn't even stand up. Because all I could do was shamelessly wriggle on the ground like a caterpillar. Takuma-san looked at her watch, then at her car, and after thinking for a moment, opened the passenger seat door. Then gave me her shoulder to stand up with. I'll take you home. I do feel bad, since it's almost like I hit you. I'm sorry. I wouldn't just leave you there. A good thing I'm a nice person. Nobody good has ever called themselves a nice person. That would have been a terrible thing to say to someone holding me up like this. Took Takuma-san's hands, sat down in the passenger seat. Takuma-san went around the back and looked at my bike on the ground. I don't suppose we could take the bicycle home tomorrow? I could clearly tell from her face she thought it would be a pain since it would be heavy and it would get her car dirty. My bike has the name Mayabara written on it. Don't leave it out here like this. Well, could you somehow put it in the car? I sort of need it. Trunk is already full. If I put it in the back seat, it'll get the seats dirty with mud. Oh, given you're already in there, it's already dirty, I suppose. Turned back to the back seat, didn't see someone's folding bicycle in there already. It was big enough to fit my bike in there as well. Her expression reflected my thoughts, and the exact same thought seemed to get through to her. Alright. I'll put it in there for you. It'll be really nice, just for for tonight, okay? Takuma-san continued with her mean jokes. She hoisted my bike and loaded it in the back seat for me. Mean jokes were one thing, but couldn't she do something about the eerie smile of hers? And even more importantly than the bike, I didn't want to leave the shovel here. The shovel could be directly connected to the buried body and to me. Sorry to ask for another favor, but can you get my shovel too? Takuma-san gave me a clearly dubious expression. Your shovel? That's fine with me. Is it important? The more I talk, the worse it gets. That's how I felt, so I didn't force myself to answer her. Eventually, outlasted by my silence, Takuma-san gave a short shrug and sighed. Alright, I understand. You need your shovel, right? You don't need to make such a mean face. Takuma-san brought it over the shovel that was lying in the middle of the road. I clutched it like I'd never let go of it again. Takuma-san watched me with a puzzled look. Okay, let's be off. Mayabara-kun, you live at the Mayabara Mansion, don't you? Why does everyone call my house the Mayabara Mansion? Because it's actually like a mansion. Must be nice to be rich. As she spoke, Takuma-san pulled a hard brake and stopped on the gas. To make a skillful U-turn using the shoulder of the road, she steadily increased in speed. The rearview mirror that had cursed place seemed to melt into the darkness. Read? Huh? I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you. What was that? Takuma-san suddenly tried to say something to me, but thoughtlessly, I didn't catch it. Looking ahead, Takuma-san said the same thing one more time. The body. What? What? How well was it buried? Oh my god. Oh no. I guess she's a pro at, like, heckin' Hina, whatever, village. She's good, she's a pro at that, so I guess she would know, right? She likes the spooky things. Thought my heart might beat out of my chest, but I didn't let it show. but my lungs were squeezed tight and I couldn't breathe. Well, what are you talking about? When burying bodies in mountains like these, you have to bury it fairly deep, because wild dogs will often smell the corpse and dig it out. Some human bone a wild dog brings around in its mouth leads to the incident being uncovered. Police head out in a stretch of mountains. It actually happens pretty often, you know? Hee hee. Just add a hee hee and it makes everything okay. Pound pound, clang clang. Huge rusted bells started ringing in my head. Had I buried it so deep that I could say it absolutely won't be found? The answer was no. I was in such a rush to bury him and get it over with that I didn't deny having possibly buried it too close to the surface. No, wait. That's not... Wait. Anyway. It's a woman. How does she know? She just passed by here in her car by coincidence. We ran into each other by coincidence. She had been watching the entire thing from the trees, and once I left, she came back in her car. It didn't make logical sense. Then, why? HEWWO, that's it. You need to kill her. My entire body reawakened, and I could feel my pupils dilate. I couldn't possibly beat her to death with a shovel in such a small car. I would use my hands and strangle her. But she was driving right now. If I strangled her, we might get into an accident. Then suddenly Takano-san turned and looked at me. What? No witty retort? For a moment I was surprised. What was she talking about? It would seem we're not a very good match, Takano-san said, disappointed, returning to her gaze ahead. I repeated the words she'd said a few times in my head. Finally realized she meant it as an off-color joke. I didn't know whether it was really a joke, but I wouldn't be able to fool her no matter how many lies I told. Right now, with her driving the car like this, I couldn't kill her. I would have even harder time doing it when we got back to the house. That moment we met, that had been my best chance. That wasn't a joke in the slightest. I mean, I feel like it could have been. She's very dark-humored. I feel like it could have been a joke. That moment we met, that had been my best chance. I missed it so easily. It hurt. After that, Takano-san didn't say a single word. The car was completely buried in an almost suffocating silence. What kind of woman had I run into? Nothing that happened today. I managed to pull it off. At the very end of it all, I had to go home and go back to sleep. With bad luck. As my sleepiness gradually overtook me, the anxiety I felt steadily started to matter less and less. Is this alright, HEWWO? Probably should not leave this woman alive. Right now, I'm tired. Stepped on the brakes, and I jerked against my seatbelt. That woke me up. I thought I must have fallen asleep by accident. Looked out the window, and there was a big building with faint lights on. It was really dark out, but I knew immediately it was my house. I'll go get your folks for you. Would you mind the place for a few moments while I'm gone? Don't make fun of me, please. Besides, look, I'm fine now. I can walk by myself. Oh my. You had such pain before that you had to get me to carry you. Did you just want a pretty lady to be nice to you? Takano-san spoke. She left the car and opened up her umbrella. The sound of falling raindrops was fierce, as always. I carefully reached around and rubbed the ankle I twisted. I feel some pain and a little weirdness, but they weren't that bad anymore. Rather than being happy about how light the wound was, I first regretted this whole thing. If I hadn't twisted my ankle, I could have still taken the option of killing Takano-san right then and there. There probably wasn't much doubt that Takano-san was convinced I was involved in some sort of crime. If she knew everything that happened in Satogo, she might have even guessed I'd killed somebody. For a click, Takano-san opened the passenger side door for me. You're sure you don't need my shoulders? I wouldn't mind doing it for you again. I ignored her and answered by getting out of the car by myself. The rain was still pretty intense. Got my bicycle out of the back seat. I was a bit curious of who the other bike belonged to, but that didn't matter right now. I let Takano-san hold the umbrella over me, then pushed my bicycle up to the front door. Thank you very much. I'll be fine now. My ankle hurt so much earlier. It still did, but it aggravated me that it hadn't been that bad. It was really seriously terrible luck. Alright, I'll be leaving then. With the secret that we had a nice evening drive together by ourselves, okay? Especially from Jiro-san. Jiro-san? Oh, she meant Tomotaku-san. Suppose she calls him by his first name. His whole name must be Jiro Tomotaku then. And then, the other bike, the one folding in the back seat that I didn't care about at first, suddenly came to mind. Hey! Hey, excuse me, you're from Minamizawa, right? The day before yesterday, as I walked near the dam, half asleep, Tomotaku-san had talked to me. The bicycle he'd been riding, it was... The bicycle in the back belongs to Tomotaku-san, doesn't it? Wait! Yeah, I just had the same click in my head, East. No way! No way! Oh my god. Keiichi, you're gonna get yourself killed if you say that. Oh my god. Akano-san's eyes, I think they sharpened for a moment. And why do you think that? I saw it when I met him before. The frame stood out to me. But wouldn't that be odd? Do you think it's possible for this to be Jiro-san's bike? Odd? Huh? Akano-san, her hair elegantly fluttering, peers into my eyes. Well, there are no bed and breakfasts in Hinamizawa, are there? Jiro-san would need to be staying in town. Is that so? Well, I guess that's right. Huh? You can't really walk from town to Hinamizawa, can you? There are no buses either. You at least need a bicycle. She didn't need to tell me that. And that's why Jiro-san was riding a bike. For Jiro-san's bicycle to be stowed in my car? And him not being there? That would be strange, wouldn't it? It would mean Jiro-san was in Hinamizawa without a bike. I'd have to have left Jiro-san somewhere and put his bike in the car, wouldn't I? It wouldn't make sense. She's just freaking saying this thing. Oh my god. Oh my god. She's just freaking piling it out. She's gonna kill him. Keiichi's gonna hecking die today. She spoke, Tankano-san made eyes like a hawk. Fortunately, I didn't really understand what was so odd. Keiichi, put it together, boy! Put it together! What about that is odd? Aren't you and Tomotaku friends? I don't really think it would be strange for there to be some reason you had his bicycle in your car. But it would be. What I mean is, Jiro-san and his bicycle being in different places in Hinamizawa wouldn't make sense. And for those reasons, it means this bicycle can't be his. You understand now? Akano-san's roundabout way of talking was hard to comprehend, but that eeriness I could feel, that vague dreadfulness, I didn't like it at all. But the most wild and instinctive part of me warned me not to cry. That's my bicycle. Jiro-san picked it out for me though, so I can't deny it looks alike. I see now. I thought it looked similar. You and I never saw each other tonight. Now she was talking about something completely different. What are you talking about? You and I never saw each other tonight. I stayed there, not knowing what to say, and Takuma-san repeated her eerie, succulent phrase to me again. You and I never met this night. Stop! Okay? Stop. Just stop saying it, please. You and I never saw each other tonight. Something cold and unpleasant crawled up my spine. I knew, because I'd killed a person with my own hands before. Before I came to the conclusion I only had one chance to beat this woman to death to keep her quiet, and I couldn't hesitate. I could tell that she'd arrived at the very same conclusion. My instincts warned me again. I wish I'd never met this woman. A faint sense, like a rotten smell, drifting from this woman, was no doubt the same exact sense that I was giving off right now. Very peculiar aspiration, the lack of uncertainty yet taking human life for a purpose. One that only those who have risen above everything had. Actually, I should have called it nausea. It meant, and I did not explain this very well, but Takano-san was the same as me. In other words, someone who shouldn't have been there. Someone I couldn't have let anybody know who was here. Someone who nobody would have wanted to see. And now that we had, we could calmly pretend as though we never met. Yes. She meant that, just as I wanted to have nothing else to do with her. She didn't want anything to do with me either. And she, too, wanted to make sure that we'd never met. Both of us wished for the same thing. Desires were the same. It meant Takano-san's suggestion was extremely practical. And then I couldn't outright refuse. That's fine with you? Then sure, whatever. Oh, that's fine with you, then sure, whatever. You and I didn't meet this night. You're right. That would be best for you too, wouldn't it? Why do you think that? Are you seriously asking me that? You can't figure that out on your own, boy. Oh my god. She cut me off with the condescending word, boy. Right in front of my house, in a place most unsuited to killing. Yet there was a frozen thirst for blood coming from both of us. I would be killed right here, right now. Yeah. I should have definitely beaten her as we passed each other. A damp, greasy sweat broke out on my body. It's fine. If you want me, you can come anytime. When I made up my mind, shook her hair elegantly and turned on her heel. Good. I'm a kind person after all. What was good? How? Because she was a kind person? Is that it? I didn't get it. Takano-san got into her car. We didn't exchange any words of parting. Performed a massive feat, killing of Satoko's uncle, and yet I didn't feel any accomplishment. On the holy night of Yashio-sama's curse, in which the taking of another person's life was allowed. On the terribly rainy night when the demons wandered as agents of Yashio-sama's will. The demons were never supposed to meet, but suddenly they did. The demons parted ways triumphantly. There's no reason for them to fight. Both their objectives had already been accomplished. The rain hitting me like a waterfall, my eyes met with Takano-san through the car window. The female demon, her mouth twisted into a distorted, fearless smile. It was too late to kill her. Far too late. That very first moment we saw each other had been my best chance. Now that we have parted like this, I was acutely aware of it. Should not have let her live. We beeped her horn quickly, and then drove her car away into the deluge. The one woman who knew what really happened tonight disappeared into the dark. As long as she was alive, this night would never really end. Just get into an accident, thought to myself. In this downpour, slip on some mud or something, fly face first to a tree, and die.
Hello there.
Hey, hey Sketch, how you doing, bro? That wasn't a delusion, a wild flight of fantasy. It was an earnest wish. Yes, it was a command. Die. Die. Keep your mouth shut for eternity. But I've no doubt you're wishing me to die all the same. My curse upon her faded emptily as Takano-san's taillights disappeared into the utter darkness. The car's lights were completely out of sight now. Even the car's sound of the engine faded into the sound of the heavy rain, and was inaudible now. I too turned on my heel, drew all the curtains on this insane night, opened my front door and ended all, began walking towards the front door, covered in mud, and made a squishing sound with every step I took. Squish, squish. Don't worry, Keiichi Maebara. Squish, squish. She'll die. Squish, squish. Her end will be as miserable as she is. I'll throw her into some flames alive and let her dance until she's burned to a crisp. Okay, yeah, that's a bit much, Keiichi. I'm getting the feels of a Gunpla model. How are you? I don't know what that means, but I'm doing pretty good. This is freaking intense, is what this is. I wish. I really do. Wish. Huh? Just now, I hadn't taken a step. And yet, a footstep. Um... Is it odd that this whole scene got my heart beat up? No, that's perfectly normal. I'm getting all nervous too. Without emotion, I turned around. There was a footprint that wasn't my own. It was obvious someone else was behind me. Somebody else there? I was sick of this. Whoever it was, I was sick of everything tonight. It's time I would kill them. I'd kill them without a second thought. It's gonna be heckin' Rena or something. I wouldn't hesitate to turn around and dig another hole. It's gonna be Rena. But, fortunately, there was nobody there. Uh-oh. I wasn't going to have to kill any more people tonight. And I couldn't handle any more of it. Even if I heard an extra footstep each time I stopped, I'd put it down just be being tired. What the heck? So there wasn't anyone there? No, it was Yashido-sama. Fire from hell and victim of the 5th year. Oh heck. Few tips. Oh. Fire from hell. Hello? Moshi Moshi? Do you need the hospital or the fire department? The fire department. Is there a fire or some other accident? Please speak slowly and calmly. I think it's a fire. This is the, rest area on the highway. See a ton of fire and smoke coming from the mountains behind us. Nobody goes back there, so I don't know why anything's lit on fire. Anyway, figured I should let you know. It could turn into a forest fire. I understand. You know exactly where you are, so please tell me your name and phone number so we can get in touch with you and the exact location of the fire. Notice from the fire department headquarters. We have a report of suspicious fire on the western slopes of Blank Mountain. From its distance from the road, it could be a couple's bonfire or someone unlawfully burning trash. Location is deep in the woods. No homes in the area, but the fire could spread. Immediately go to the site to verify. Is it the fire station? This is the Blank District Fire Department branch. We arrived moments ago at the reported area. Fire confirmed to be a burning oil drum left in the mountains. Oh, there's gonna be a body in there. Fire is calming and there are no chance it will spread. And, well, in the oil drum, I think it might be a person. Like a person burned with kerosene or something. Well, I think I maybe should get the police over here. There's no mistaking it. This is a person. Eee! So that's Takano-san did. Well, at least we know, right? At least we know what she did. Keiichi won't, but we do. Victim of the 5th year. Gonna be Seeker's Curse then, huh? What it looks like. Kills them differently every year, but this is particularly conspicuous, isn't it? Clawing out your own throat. That isn't normal. Wait. Huh? Wait. Let's leave the rest to the old man in forensics. Sure, I'll find some suspicious drugs. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Oh, Oishi-san. Tomiyama-san and the others have arrived. Oishi-san, much appreciated. Well, it would seem we have a pretty crazy one this year. Yes. We've been outsmarted. I was absolutely under the impression Teppei Hojo would get killed tonight. Who's the deceased? Shiro Tomitake? Photographer with a hobby coming to Hinamizawa a few times a year. You didn't even have him marked. Wonder what happened. They realized we were watching the Hojo residence the whole time and decided to switch their targets? Wait. If they were watching the whole time, does that mean that... No. No. Maybe. We sure flubbed this one. There are no problems with Tepe Hojo? Correct. Daughter left for the festival in the evening, and a little while later he left on his motorbike. His daughter came back first. Wait. Has he not come back yet? He's still out drinking somewhere? Oishi-san, are you there? Call Chief Takasugi. He's on the line on car 1. Oh, come on, cliffhanger. Don't do that. Okay. So there's an unrelated body in the woods in an oil drum. That could be Takano. But so yeah, Takano used the job at the doctor's office to get the drugs to kill Takatake. Yeah. That's what happened. But how did Takano get in the oil drum? Or if it even is Takano. Because we don't know. But that is strange for sure. That is very strange. Alright. The real curse. Yeah. The real curse. Well, that's to be it for today, guys. That's it. Or should I freaking just keep going? I have some water with me so I could stay hydrated and not die. I'll freaking put a vote in chat. Should we keep going, yay or nay? The rain makes me sleepy. Yeah, I love the sound of rain. It's so nice. I'd say nay. Yeah, maybe we should take a break, huh? Leave us craving for more. Yes. Democracy. Also nay. Too bad, East. We got 2 nays and 1 yay. Sad. Don't worry, I'll probably do it again in a couple days. Soothing sound to Barry Boys too. Chill lo-fi beats. Chill lo-fi beats to kill someone too. Yeah, so we'll continue this in a couple days. No way I'll leave you guys for a whole month this time. But yeah, I guess I'll be it then. I'll see you guys whenever, right? I hate democracy. I save again. Okay, well, do it for 366 days, I dare ya. No way. No fucking way. Okay, bye. Bye-bye. Listen to the sound of the soothing rain.